With the introduction of AI into our business, everybody's like, "Oh my God, like, now AI is here and our realtor is going to be replaced." No, we're not. AI is not Grok or
Yep.
Chat GPT is not going to write your offer and negotiate it for you. They're not going to get you set up from, selling your home to relocating into your new home. Like, you still need a human being for those things.
All right. Welcome to the North Fork Experience, the podcast where we explore the journeys of exceptional individuals and businesses and unparalleled success in the real estate world. Joining us is Angela Beers, a passionate real estate agent, investor, and team leader with Keller Williams in Cochranville, Pennsylvania. Angela, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Doing very good. How are you?
Good. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Cochranville, Pennsylvania.
It is not here. It is gloomy and gloomy, but we will dive right in. It's fantastic to have you. You describe yourself as a student of life and incredibly passionate about helping people live their best life through real estate. What was it about real estate that made it the perfect avenue for you to pursue this passion?
Let's see. I think the best thing about podcasts is how unscripted they are.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, it's cliche as it's going to get. It was houses and people. I have a history in the restaurant business. That's where I started. I really have always been super enthusiastic and love working with people. I'd reached my max in the restaurant business and at that point was ready to make a move into something else. So I did some soul searching and was like, what do I like? What do I enjoy doing? And at the end of the day, I had an attraction for houses and helping people. So I went and got my real estate license and started in 2014 as a realtor in California.
Wow, in California you started out, and that's really fantastic. It's been interesting for me, talking to some different people in the real estate industry and seeing how everybody got their start. And
Mhm.
I've yet to run into anyone on the podcast actually that started out with a plan to pursue real estate. It was always, hey, I got into something else. I started working with some people that were involved in the real estate industry, and they said, hey, you'd be really good at this, or they had that outgoing personality like you have. And it just was a natural fit for them.
Yeah, I think for me, like joy has always been my compass. And it's probably bad. Like my husband always comments like, you've gone from this job to that job. Like I naturally will be attracted to something that brings me a little more joy or a little bit more excitement. And there's when you're ready for a change, what you were doing in the past feels very low vibrational. And so for me, I've always been somebody that was just trying to tune into myself to figure out where the path was going next. So when I thought about, real estate, and I didn't even really know what that meant, by the way. I don't think
Uh-huh.
anybody that gets into real estate really understands that it's a lead gen business and it's a sales business and it's not just showing houses as a lot of people think it is. But I had a glimmer of joy when I thought of doing it. And so I pursued it.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's interesting meeting different people. We all have our story. I got my start in oil and gas. I was an engineer in the oil and gas industry for just about 10 years. And if you know anything about that business, it is boom and bust. I've experienced a couple layoffs, and it was just time for me to take control of my own destiny, so to speak, and really work to do something that I got in a position where I wasn't going to be forced into a layoff at the whims of an industry. It's interesting how everybody has their journey into where they end up like that.
Yeah, and I think it's just about being open to where the universe or God or whatever you believe in, where these paths are taking us and being true to yourself and honoring yourself. Like when you get that feeling, Kirk, when you were like, "Man, I don't want to be at the whim of somebody else's some corporate decision. Like I want more for myself. I can do better for myself." Well, then that's when I think you're most open to seeing the signs of, hey, what's next? And it's not like I don't think any of us or very few of us can see like exactly where this whole thing is going. But I think it's more of like laying bricks, right? Like you do one layer and then you do another brick, and you just kind of keep layering those bricks and it creates something much bigger. But it's the smaller decisions that I think matter most.
Exactly. It's making those decisions, and then you have to be willing to put in the work too. Nothing happens without putting in the effort and believing in yourself and betting on yourself and being able to put in the effort that really makes those decisions move forward.
Yeah, and that's why real estate, even though I didn't know it, is actually a really great fit for me because I'm a very tenacious person and I'm very driven. I'm your classic disc, high D, high I
Uh-huh.
profile salespeople. Like, I fit the T, right? Fit the mold.
Uh-huh.
But that's why this career has been so great for me, because as I evolve, it's evolved. And as I've become better professionally and personally, my business has gotten better professionally and personally. The connections I have and the relationships I have, and, it's just every day it's something new, and it's challenging. It's really challenging. And it just asks you to like dig deep. And it's hard to go from being an employed person to a self-employed person,
Absolutely.
as I'm sure you know.
Yes.
And so there's a learning curve to that. So yeah, so real estate for me was a fantastic choice, and I'm glad that I, you know, listened to myself and went that direction, even when I had no real mentor at that time or nobody that I knew was doing real estate. So it
Uh-huh.
was the right move for my personality.
Yep, it's a real leap of faith at times to go from employee to, running your own thing. And, I always like seeing people that, take that leap and, are willing to put in the work and find success in it.
Yeah, totally. And I've had to reinvent myself multiple times.
Yeah.
Like I always say Martha Stewart is my muse, because she's like, I mean, God bless her. I think she's in her late 70s, but
Uh-huh.
she continued to stay relevant. And I think that that is what all of us realtors need to be focusing on right now, is how do we stay relevant in a world where the consumer is having a very, very different experience with real estate from the days where my real estate mentors had like an actual book of listings,
Uh-huh.
right? And they would go through the book and they would take people out in their cars on tour to the homes. And now it's like wildly different. And so, how are we bringing value to our clients, right?
Yep, absolutely.
That's the big question. How are we modernizing our businesses, and how are we bringing value to our current and future clients? And that's something that I have been sitting with for the last few weeks, because even myself, I hit a lull, right? Like things are working, but I'm not growing. I'm not feeling like the percentage of growth in my business from last year. I feel like I've kind of landed flat. So why?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what?
You got to be able to be open to making those changes and, progressing as different opportunities come your way for sure. So it's an ever-changing business.
Yeah, it's an ever-changing business. And so, and then, with the introduction of AI into our business, everybody's like, oh my God, like, now AI is here, and our realtor is going to be replaced. No, we're not. Like AI is not Grok or Chat GPT is not going to write your offer and negotiate it for you. Like they're not going to get you set up from, selling your home to relocating into your new home. Like you still need a human being for those things. And
Yep.
don't get me started about the therapy. The therapy is something you need a human for.
Yep. Yeah. So we are in the AI business, and we do look at it as a way to move you forward and make you more efficient rather than something that's trying to take away jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with you. That's the way that that's if you look at it that way, you're golden. How can I incorporate this into my business so that I can make the consumer experience better? How can
Absolutely.
we, you know what I mean? Like, how can we use this to really just make my clients feel like just that they've got more information, or that they understand things better, or that the calendaring is better, whatever it is.
Absolutely. So you're based in Cochranville, Pennsylvania, and I'm sure you work outside of that direct market some. What makes this particular market unique, and how do you find yourself connecting with the community and clients that you have?
So we are seeing, well, there's a few different things. So what makes this particular market in my area? So I'm in Southern Chester County. So we are a really cool intersection of Amish lifestyle. We have an agricultural community. We have, your generational farms and people who have been here a long time. And then you have your new construction homes going up in bigger subdivisions, right? Your 55 plus communities. I think that there's a lot of growth happening from people pushing out from more closer to Philadelphia. So what makes this area unique is that this is more for, I think that people are coming here because they want space. They want to get out of the grind, the hustle and bustle. They want to come home to a yard and a wave at your neighbor, but not like be on top of your neighbor. It's very farm to table here. We can go and get our produce and our meats locally that have like just been butchered, really organic, really healthy. Like I love, love, love where I live. The
Huh.
real estate market, we have less inventory here, a little bit longer days on market. Overall in Chester County, we're looking at like 2.5 months of inventory. So like that's how many houses we have, for that length of time to sell. The thing with our area is it's really school districts matter, like zip codes, like school district zip code, and the it gets really niche. The real estate market gets really niche depending
Uh-huh.
on the specific area. So right now we're actually seeing more of a balanced market, believe it or not. A lot of price reductions, longer days on market, and the introduction of the home sale contingency, which is, hey, I really want to buy this house. Here's the offer, but we have a home to sell on the back end.
Yeah, I'm sure that's an interesting thing for you, learning how to operate in a buyer's market and a seller's market, and then a more balanced market like you're seeing now. So you got to be able to play your hand with all those different variables that you're seeing, and you still have to know how to, move forward in each of those circumstances. So that's very interesting.
It is really interesting. And that's why it's really important to be market savvy locally, understand where you're at, understand the school district, understand the relevance of, the community, what the community is looking for. So as far as my like community involvement, it's one of the things that I really needed to double down on this year. So I'm an ambassador for the Southern Chester County Chamber of Commerce. I really love business to business relationships. I love helping small businesses grow, participating in, their longevity and sustainability within the community is just better for everybody.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I love our chamber. Like it's led well, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful group of human beings. I have a 4-year-old, so like my life is a little bit wild in terms of what I can commit to because I'm very committed to my kid. But doing things with him, going to events and festivals, and just participating in our community, and just being seen and trying to help out where we can. I think my husband and I decided that we want to do some type of like turkey giveaway this year. Just like simple things that we can do to like, I don't know, help people out. That's it. Get back the human connection. Like what is happening in the world, right? Like
Uh-huh.
the division and the ugliness that's so unnecessary. Like at the end of the day, most of us are still going to sit around and eat turkey.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Yeah, it's a crazy world we live in right now. And you having kids and wanting to be more involved in the community hits home with me. As an oil and gas professional for so long, I I have a 4-year-old and a 20-month-old right now. So being back home with them, in the oil and gas industry, I lived all over Pennsylvania. I've spent too much time in Texas and Oklahoma, and it's just more about getting back to my roots now and being at home with the kids. It's so valuable to me. I want to be the guy coaching the baseball teams and stuff like that. So, it's really resonates with me for sure.
Well, yeah. And like in this season of our lives where you have children that are 4, 5 and under, like you're kind of in the trenches with it.
Yeah.
And it's something that a lot of people I don't think talk about. And so trying to be a business owner and an entrepreneur and trying to show up for your family the way that they need you and show up for your kids the way that they need you and like juggling it all is a level of insanity that only if you
Yeah. Uh-huh.
understand. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean?
Yep.
I think that conversation needs to be had more just in general because I think that we're lacking support from our tribes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I feel that. I feel like there's not that tribal, like tight, big family connection because everybody is so busy.
Uh-huh. That's very accurate. And I will say one of the big wins I've had recently is my mom retired last week. So I've got some free childcare, and it's been awesome already. It's been instrumental in helping me move forward here a little bit.
Oh my God, yeah. I bet.
So my wife's actually a small business owner too, a massage therapist. So, and we try not to do the daycare with our kids and stuff. So we kind of just see each other in passing right now. I've got a meeting at 2:00 and 4:00. I need you to watch the kids for. And she's like, okay, I got massages from 6 to 7. Okay. So we just kind of hand back and forth right now, and it becomes hectic for sure.
I totally get that. My husband and I just had this conversation literally 5 minutes ago. I was like, look, babe, this is just a temporary moment in our lives, right? Like he has a handyman business. He just retired from the state of Pennsylvania, the Department of Corrections, long time. And now he started his handyman business. So we have two self-employed people in the house, as you know, and we have this child, and we're trying to take care of and love each other as husband and wife.
It's hard.
And it's just like, holy crap, it is wild. Like we have to schedule our time together. Like, hey, we have the afternoon. Do you want to go out to lunch tomorrow? You know, like it's wild, but to your point, it's temporary.
Yep, exactly.
At the end of the day, it's just going to make us stronger anyway.
Yep, for sure. And pretty wild. My mother actually just retired from the Department of Corrections too, so that's pretty unique.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so she was there for about 20 years. So
same with mine. Yeah,
very
Ryan,
strange for sure.
It is. He got into it when he was really young, like 21 years old, out of the Army. So he'll be 41 next month, and he has this like whole second
Yeah, gotcha. Yep.
To do what he wants to do. And so like we wanted to come together and like, look, you have a unique, set of gifts, and I have a unique set of gifts, and they happen to align really nicely.
Coalesce. Yep.
Right. So how can we work together and spend time together working together? Although it's not, cocktails at a golf club or anything, but at least we're spending time together and we're working on something and we're growing this thing. So we got together and we figured out like, hey, you can do the handyman aspect of my business, meaning that you can add that value to clients who need to get their house ready for the market, who have a honey-do list that hasn't gotten done, and it's preventing them from getting on the market, or we can get the house ready for inspections or whatever the case may be. But now we have this whole other like division of our business that he's going to champion.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's another way that we're staying relevant. This is how we decided that we're going to stay relevant, try to spend more time together, and build something kind of awesome for our kid, in terms of maybe some more investment properties, or, just growing the business, or maybe his handyman business will take off and we'll employ some people on that end. Like, we don't know where this is going to go, but it just feels like the right thing to do.
Oh, that's one of the cool things about business. You just need the right opportunity and it can really take off, and you can, really make something special out of it as long as you're willing to put in the work.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where we're at right now.
Perfect. So over the years, you've had the privilege of helping people buy and sell their homes, of course. What are some key considerations you emphasize for clients navigating the residential market today?
Have your ducks lined in a row. Like, you know what I mean? So on the buy side, because it still is competitive in most areas, although a little less, on the buy side, I would just say be as ready as you possibly can and keep your expectations in check. I think that that's something that us as a buyer's agent really, really have to help our clients do. Also, don't sweat the small things. Home inspections can be scary, but they're kind of meant to be that way. They're kind of meant to be a little scary, but like, don't be scared. And I think having an agent who's experienced, who can help you walk through some of that stuff on the report so it's less alarming, is really helpful. But have your ducks in a row, be solid financially, be solid with your vision, and understand that like maybe your first house, it's not going to be the dream house. And that, my husband and I bought a rancher that was built in the early 60s in Delaware County in Brookhaven. It was wall to wall wood paneling and pink carpets, and it was as dated as it could be, but it was turnkey. The major functions were there. The windows were new, like the vinyl windows, the HVAC was good. So like we bought it, and we were able to put value in that property over the course of the 2 years. We sold at a profit after 2 years and ended up buying our long-term home here in Cochranville.
Very nice. And I'm sure that helped with him having the skill set that he has, guys could work on it some and save, work things out that way a little bit. And I'm sure that helped quite a bit with his ability.
Yeah, well, and it also allowed us to feel somewhat comfortable when we waived inspections on our purchase, right? Like,
Yep.
we never recommend that you waive your inspections, but in the event that you're in a competitive situation and you know that it's the house you want, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do,
I will say the house that I live in now, I kind of had some insight that it was going to come on the market before it did. And it was a 3-bedroom and I was single at the time. And I said, I just don't think I want it. I finally went and took a look at it and I was like, oh, damn, I'm going to buy this house. I'm not ready for it yet, but that's the opportunity and it looks good. So yeah, we jumped on it. And sometimes that's the way it works.
Oh yeah. We weren't planning on moving into this house. And when I saw this house, I was scared shitless. I was like, oh no, that's too much house. That's too much house. We can't do that. We're not ready for that. And then my sister, I saw this house for like a couple of weeks, but I didn't pursue it. And my sister, who's like a magician, she found me my husband and my house and my wedding dress. Anyway, she was like, what about this house? And I was like, oh no, I've seen that. We can't do that house. So then I scheduled, she's like, just go look at it. So I scheduled the appointment. We came to look at it. I stood upstairs and looked over our little balcony and started crying. And I was like, okay, let's just do it.
Yeah, that's same with me. I had an offer in by, that same day.
Yeah, totally. And the thing with our situation, and this is some knowledge I can share with a lot of people who are looking to move up or downsize. We had to write an offer on this property contingent upon us selling our primary residence in Brookhaven. We had to do a double closing. Just stressful as all get out. Okay. I don't sugarcoat that for anybody. That is stressful, but it's possible. It is so possible. And sometimes that's what needs to happen. So like you have a nice house and you want to sell it, and I'm your listing agent, and we get an offer and it's such a beautiful, squeaky clean offer, like the full price, maybe more, great terms, but they've got a house that's, maybe under contract, let's just say, and it needs to go to settlement. Well, sometimes you've got to do that. Sometimes if it's a great offer and it makes sense for both parties, like sometimes, and that's the world that we're in now, you got to take those calculated risks. And so we're seeing more of that. I'm seeing many more home sale contingency offers on listings that I have. And I don't shy away from them. Like it's not an ideal situation. Obviously you want like a free and clear buyer who's ready to just pull the trigger. But now because of it being a touch more balanced market, sometimes you got to get creative.
Yeah, absolutely. So beyond residential, you've also worked closely with some investors looking to create wealth. You've procured some commercial spaces for entrepreneurs. How do you approach working with investors, and what advice do you give them for successful wealth creation through real estate?
Well, on the residential side, I say don't be afraid to buy a fixer-upper. The fastest way to force equity is to blood, sweat, and tears, right? So that would be my advice on the residential side. Residential investors on both ends, it's really just about the numbers. And that's what I like about investing. There's no emotional component the same way that there is with first-time home purchase or a downsize.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? That emotional tidbit's not there. So for me, again, how am I bringing value to an investor? It's being able to calculate and underwrite deals. It's being able to take a look at a property and say, okay, here's what you're going to be in for it too, in terms of finances, but here's what you're going to get out of it. Are the rents going to be where you need them to be? If you rehab a house, is the after repair value going to be where you need it to be? Okay, so now I know after repair value on this one's 500 once it's fully renovated, okay? So now as your agent, now I can work backwards and help you say, all right, well, if we're looking at 80% of after repair value, we're going to back out some costs. This is the number that you need to buy it at. And then we work our butts off to get that number. And if we don't get that number, then we don't do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's very interesting for sure. It's good something to having someone in their court with that experience that can really walk them through the number side of things too.
Yeah, the numbers are really all that matters, but then also being like creative and being able to say, is there some additional space that could be turned into an apartment? Or is there an area where we could put a laundry room? Or how can we really, really get the most value out of this property? Do you want to raise the rents and lease, and include the garage spaces? Or do you want to maybe just rent the whole garage to a contractor that really needs the extra space? Like, getting creative and seeing the highest and best use of a property is also something that's really important, because sometimes you can't see it. Like, not everybody can see it, but if you can think creatively, you can really increase the ROI on a property.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice having someone in their court with that experience and that insight to really help them see what potential a property has.
Yeah, and like I just met this young girl, she's 25 years old, at my open house last weekend, and she's like, "We really like this house, but," I said, "Well, do you have a house to sell?" And she was like, "I don't want to sell it." She's like, "And I don't think we need to sell it." She's like, "I want to keep it as a rental." And I was like, "Amen,
Yeah.
hallelujah." I'm like,
Uh-huh.
"So you're 25 years old, you have a house that you could easily," she has a 2% mortgage.
Wow.
She
Yeah. Yeah.
got like 1,800 a month. I said, "You could rent your house for 2,300 a month. You
Uh-huh.
could cash flow probably two or $300 a month after it's all said and done. Do it,
Yeah.
and let that
Absolutely.
thing
Yeah.
build equity for you, man."
Yeah.
And
Build
then,
some equity and have some cash flow and very important
yeah,
things for sure.
and then once you have the equity, do a home equity line of credit or do a refinance or do something to pull out that money and go buy yourself another investment
Yep.
property.
Absolutely. I like it.
And it takes a lot of work to do that. Like, you've got to be really committed with your finances, with your vision, to really be consistent and disciplined to try to get yourself into that momentum, the kind of buy, renovate, the whole BRRRR acronym thing, to stay really, you know what I mean? Really disciplined in in finding those properties and staying committed to that vision.
And I'm sure it helps to have a team in your court, that have been through it and can see, like you said, you have the vision to see where things can go and stuff like that. I've made a few investments myself in property, and everything I've invested in at this point has been a rural land with no buildings on it. And I've been super fortunate that I have a close personal relationship with a guy that's does really well in the timber business. So before I bought these properties, I've had him go, walk the property, assess timber value. I've been able to say, hey, this is what the price is right now. This is how much I had to spend. What kind of timber value can I get out of these properties? So it's a little different for us out in this neck of the woods and in our more rural regions. But it's been he was super helpful for me. Just having that person in your court that really knows that business, and you can really help you get the most out of what you're doing there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's talk about land. Land, oh, they're not making any more of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you can buy land and you could rent it to RV owners to store their RVs on it.
uh
You
huh,
can buy land and you can put in a tiny home, community, which is on my bucket list. I had an investor client who did that in Texas, and it was called the Monarch Preserve, or Monarch something tiny home community, and that man crushed it.
yeah.
And the tiny homes are awesome, and it gives. I love that whole concept of just looking at land and seeing what could it be. Maybe you want to put storage units on it. People
Yeah.
have too much crap.
Yeah.
Storage units are a win-win.
Yep. Yeah. So a couple of the properties I bought have had some kind of old rundown camps on them, and we're looking at rehabbing them. Short-term rentals are a big deal in my area. It's a lot of people from Pittsburgh and Philly come up here to camp and spend the weekend in the woods. So short-term rentals have been very important up here. So we're looking to get into a little bit of that, as well as the timber investment that I discussed there further. So yeah, any of those investments, it's really opportunity out there, and it helps to have some great people, and work with, really walk you through what you should expect from them.
Oh yeah, yeah, I totally agree. It's a wild world out there, but I think if you're creative and have the right resources and the right advocates, just about anything is possible.
Yeah, I know, without that guy that I was talking about, I never would have bought the land that I have now. I just didn't have the information to know how much money I could get back out of it and stuff like that. So it was
Yep.
instrumental in, me making that purchase and doing it with confidence too, that, I was making the right decision.
So cool. Love
Yep.
it.
So you spent some time as a team leader at Keller Williams there.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what that entailed, your leadership philosophy, and what you did to foster a positive and productive environment.
So I was the year before I had my son, I was a team leader at Keller Williams, Brandywine Valley. And leadership is an interesting thing because I don't know, I feel like you can only really lead people to the extent that you've done your own personal growth work. So, like, the job for me there was really about retaining the agents that we had, helping them structure business plans, marketing strategies, calendaring things, staying consistent, and like really helping grow the office. So you want to attract new agents, young blossoming agents, or your more experienced agents. So you're really looking to bring them to the office because real estate's a business. The office needs to be profitable.
Yeah.
Okay? The
Yep.
office is profitable because of the realtors that are aligned with it. So, it's important that, and because what we do as entrepreneurs is Jim Rohn said it best, your business is only going to grow to the extent that you do,
Yep.
right? I think it was a little more lengthy than that, but
Yeah,
basically
absolutely. Yeah.
that's what it means. So if you're still holding on to things that are no longer serving you as team leader, it was my job to kind of look at those things and ask you, hey, you're saying this isn't working, or hey, you don't have that morning routine, or you keep telling me that you can't be consistent with your calls and your follow up. How can we create a situation, or what would it look like for you if that was no longer a hurdle, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and so really it's just about helping lead people to the answers that they really already have inside of them,
Hmm.
but they maybe need some accountability around.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. At the end of the day, good vibes and everybody, having a good time. It's nice, but at the end of the day, it's a business, and you have to be able to be the one putting in the work, or it just doesn't, you don't move forward.
Right, right. And people need to, part of growth is just being really honest about who you are and where you are in your life. And a lot of times people have the talent, but they just can't get out of their own way.
Yep. Yep.
Like you can see it from afar. You don't know them, you're not like living with them or anything, but you can see it, feel it, like where they could make those improvements. But then they just have to let go of the things that aren't serving them anymore, and that's not easy. Change is really hard for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people, I'm sure it's the fear of the unknown. Like I know, I've certainly fought through that a little bit. And my business there, when I was working in oil and gas as an engineer, like there were decisions that I made that we were going to find out real quick that could cost us millions of dollars if they were wrong. So it was a lot of situations where I had to get as much information as I could and then just make a decision and roll with it and hope it was the right one. For me, it was tough getting in a situation where, hey, sometimes you don't have all the information anymore and you just have to go with it and push things through. And maybe it's going to be wrong, but in this business, it's not going to cost you $1 million, So, push forward, have your screw ups, but learn from them and use them to help you grow.
Totally. Yeah. Fail forward. Fail
Yeah. Yep.
forward, and that's what it's all about. And you can't be afraid to make the mistakes. Like, you got to know what you don't want to know what you do want, right? People only respond for two reasons: pain or pleasure. That's the only thing that really creates change in somebody's life. If the pain is bad enough or if it feels good enough, then you're willing to make those adjustments. And so sometimes people just need to kind of sit in that unpleasant space for a little bit in order for them to realize, okay, I need to make this adjustment.
Yeah, you got to make a change or you're going to be stuck there for a while.
Yeah. And then once they do make the change, it's like this whole new world opens up. This whole new world of possibility just opens in front of them.
Yeah, anxiety starts drifting away a little bit and you're like, oh, I really can do this.
Yeah. Like, because it's what you were meant to do, because you have a calling for it. if you didn't feel an attraction to it, if you didn't feel a desire to do something more or become something more, you would stay stagnant. But like, if you just honor yourself, right? And like I said, get out of your own way, then you create this whole new world of opportunity and possibility for yourself. And it's like, so that was kind of my job as a team leader. It was a lot of just trying to help agents, feel better, get better, learning constantly, a little bit of corporate stuff, which I don't really love, a lot of meetings, which isn't a great fit for me. But then I had my child and I went back to just running my sales business, and I've been doing that for the last few years. So I feel good about that. I enjoy it.
That's awesome. The kids change everything. It really gives you a new outlook and
Understatement of the year, man. Yeah, they do.
For sure.
They do change everything. And it's funny because, parenting isn't so much about the kids. It's about you. It's about dealing with your triggers. It's about dealing with the way you were raised. It's like, it's so, they're just little wild, free human beings.
Yeah, it's the coolest.
Coolest, right? Like, it's us before all the crap got piled on top of us, right? Like, you're not born self-conscious, right? When my son is using our couch arm as a balancing beam and then leaping like a tree monkey from one space to another, he doesn't lack confidence, right?
Yep.
That's something that's acquired over
it gets
time.
built in. Yep.
It's built in. So as a parent, I'm like, oh shit, you don't want to mess up your kid. But it's like being really mindful of how you're leading your family.
Yeah.
How you're showing up, and hoping that they absorb all that.
Yeah, it makes you look inward a lot. I always think a little extra about the decisions I'm making and how is this going to affect him and what's he seeing through his little eyes that could change things down the road. Even you just never know. You want to be so mindful of everything because they pick up on so much.
Yeah, I think when I first started in the mom world, which I've recently started to embrace, it didn't come easy for me. I had a very challenging time after I had my child because I've always been so career focused and I've always been so just extroverted and in the mix. And so having him, it brings things inward immensely. But now I'm just like, oh my God, you're so amazing. I just want to be amazing for you and be a great example.
Yep, absolutely. That's so cool. Well, this conversation's been incredibly insightful. It showcases, why you're so successful and respected. Your energy's certainly infectious, and I can see why, people are drawn to you, and you've done so well in that business. I want to thank you for sharing your North Fork experience with us today.
Yeah, this has been so great. What a pleasant surprise.
It's been fun for sure.
Podcast experience. So I'm really grateful that it was with you. It was really nice and I've enjoyed everything.
Perfect. So before we wrap up, for our listeners who are looking to buy or sell a home in your area or maybe seeking investment opportunities, let them know where they can get a hold of you. What's the best way to reach out?
Yeah, so you can check me out online. It's angelabeershometeam.com. You can always call my cell phone, which is basically listed everywhere, and it's certainly on my website. And honestly, if you're in the market to buy or sell, like we're offering something that's so much different. We're really looking at being an end-to-end solution for your your real estate transaction needs. And we do that by offering just an incredible menu of services, everything from cleanup to clean out to handyman services to lawn care, all baked into one fee. So you don't have to go running around shopping vendors with like a chicken with your head cut off. We do that. We're your one-stop shop. And that's the value that I want to bring to people.
That's awesome. That's fantastic stuff. I'm sure everyone appreciates it. That has had the opportunity to work with you.
Yeah, you're awesome. And wait, you broke up a little bit. Did you ask me a question?
Nope.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So that's all for this episode of the North Fork Experience. A huge thank you again to our incredible guest, Angela Beers, and thank you for all for tuning in. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep experiencing all that our communities have to offer. Thank you. Well done.